Hello, everyone. Stacey Carter, and great to be with New Mu again. Um, it's a great organization, so donate. Anyway, so yeah, the pandemic. Interesting time. I'm getting a little sick of it at this point, but in the beginning, it was really like, wow, everything can kind of stop, and maybe I can focus on cleaning up my studio and sort of getting some backlog things done, since I don't have to rush around with all these crazy deadlines. And it was very funny here at the shipyard where my studio is. Other artists were around, and we all kind of would sort of see each other with our masks on in the hallway, and we would all say, nothing's really changed for us here. We're still working alone. We're still broke. We're still just doing our thing, like pandemic, no pandemic. But anyway, that was the beginning. Now we're all, of course, sick of it. But what it really, really hit me was the orange day in San Francisco. That light, and it just, when I woke up and I saw that orange crazy light like I've never seen in my life, I knew immediately I was going to the beach to take a photograph of it because I needed to see what that looked like. And this is exactly what it looked like. It was pretty crazy, pretty absolutely beautiful, but also tragic. And, the whole day sort of symbolized everything that was sort of messed up about last year, fires and pandemic and, you know, crazy politics, all of it, but, we're surviving. But, this piece sort of falls in line. I work with photography, I work with photographs. I take my own photographs sometimes, but lately I've been using historic photographs. And, a lot of my work, if you want to go to the next slide, um, is based on, I'm an archivist for the Hunters Point shipyard, and so I collect history, I collect photographs and objects and whatnot, and I sort of document the history of wherever I happen to be at. If it's on a street in San Francisco, I'll record and document that street. My studio's been at the shipyard for about 18 years now, and so I started, just being fascinated by the place and the abandoned buildings, and it's quite an interesting story when you put it all together. So lately, I've just really been working with historic imagery the last few years. And this piece is actually really interesting. This is the USS Missouri in dry dock at the shipyard in 1953. And this was photographed at an air show by the father of a good friend of mine. And really, it's actually quite symbolic because the USS Missouri is actually inadvertently the way that the artist colony kind of ended up staying here. Because, in 1984, they wanted to homeport the Missouri here at the shipyard. And the artists and a lot of activists, made a concerted effort not to do that. And they protested it so strongly that they abandoned that plan. And it was started with the artists fighting to keep their studios, because if that Missouri came here, it would have displaced all the small businesses and artists. And so it's interesting, this piece, I like it because it's sort of like, wow, it represents why art is here instead of the Navy nowadays. So with that backstory, if you want to go to the next slide. So this is sort of a similar type of working method as the Orange Day in September that is in the New Mu show. This is another piece that I did that was, it's a historical photograph. It's from 1944. It's, of a Japanese ship being bombed. And what drew me to this image really was because it was just fire on water. I mean, it's just, you don't see the ship and it's just puzzling, like, what is it? And, normally with the way I was doing my work, I would just work with a black and white image and then paint on top of that and do all kinds of glazing and whatnot. Well, this piece, I was, trying to get done in like a week before a show. And the day that I started working on it was the day that the first really awful fires happened in Napa. And I remember the fires being really bad, and it started one day. And so I started working on this piece the day it started, and it blew my mind because the fire never stopped all week long. And it was just so I don't know. I'm sure everybody knows now that we've had way too many fires here, but it's just a feeling that it's this ominous feeling. It ties in with the political sentiment of the time. And I worked this piece to death, coloring it, painting it. I mean, I did not stop. I was like, am I crazy? I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like every different color under the rainbow. And the day that I finished it was the day that the fires ended, 7 days after they had started. So, these sort of color saturated, kind of ominous, but, very colorful imagery is sort of my statement of the times, so to speak. Yeah, and so that's kind of about that work. Nothing more to say about it because it's not really something that's fun, but I really think that the work, for me, it has like an emotional kind of, beauty and tragedy in a sense. And that's something that I've always been fascinated is, beautiful things that are not necessarily good things, big battleships, warships, atomic bomb explosions. I've always been fascinated by that sort of thing, just because of the scale and that there is beauty in it, but then it has this sort of political overtone or, that, I'm not going to comment on that, but it gives it another level of meaning, I guess, or interest. In terms of the coronavirus, in terms of what I'm doing now, besides this sort of work, it's funny. I've been busier during the corona, lockdown. I've been busier than I've ever been in my career as an artist, and I do work in collaboration with artist Derek Lynch. And the first week that the lockdown happened back in March, we got a call from the San Francisco Arts Commission inviting us to apply for a public art commission. And so that was a really intense proposal experience. But Derek and I actually, we are in the works in production. We got a public art commission for the San Francisco airport. So that project just started. We just signed the contract and it's underway. So I've been busier than ever. So number one, I'm kind of happy in a way, not happy, but glad that the pandemic is happening because I can put all my resources into this project and focus solely on it and not all the other things I was doing before. So it's kind of it's been good that way. But no, we're all tired of being alone, and I can't wait till it's over. But thank you very much, and I appreciate being here.